One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, everybody? We got 7 days and went by. Man, I'm telling you, man, these 7 days keep going by quick. Seems like these 7 days turn into 2-3 days. But
no kidding.
Like I said, so we're here again, another week later for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop, got Mike Ball, and we got Aaron Olinger. And got a pretty good show for you tonight. We got quite a bit of information we're gonna put out, but then too, people that's on the comments, feel free to ask some questions, and we can try to answer them the best way we can, and go with it from there. But before we hit this story, of course, like always, we go through, see how everybody been for the past week. So we'll start at Aaron first. What's up with you, brother? How was your week?
Oh, it's pretty good. Spend time with family. Then I'm just gearing up. Got 3 gun shows in a row beginning this coming weekend. So I'm
Let's go.
putting all my effort toward getting ready for it. So hopefully I have some good sales in over the next 3 weeks. I'll stop there.
That's awesome, Aaron. That's really cool. So you said you're doing 3 gun shows. Man, that's awesome.
3 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I'm stoked for you because you got a lot to offer. I've seen your displays. I was like, I actually recently saw that when you posted it up on the Diamond Effect Facebook group or whatever. I was like, wow, he's got way more than more than I thought. I mean, you have like an extreme vendor list. It's crazy, like a lot. Anyways, with me, man, it's been a good week, at least personally. Some in the news, it's been kind of crazy, as you guys kind of know. It's a daily, hour by hour kind of ordeal. Archbishop found out the hard way about that. We actually had to change. He had to change because things just change every day, and so an hour by hour, quite literally. So, but yeah, man, it was good to be able to hang out with some family. I'm always very family oriented, so I do that, as much as I possibly can. And then it's just been active in the community. There's been a lot of things going on here, so I've been attending stuff like that. So, how about yourself, AB?
Well, same as always, working my ass off.
Yeah.
But I haven't I didn't have to do anything major this week. I kind of had a little bit of a break, but everything else about to pick back up hot and heavy on the 23rd. So I'm gonna be super busy from that point on. But just been moving around, man. Work. There's a lot of little stuff that's been coming around. What I mean, some little breaks here and there. So I've been kind of jumping on those, and I've been back in the gym hot and heavy here for the past couple of weeks. So just in case somebody want me to take my shirt off or something, you know what I mean?
You're ready. You're ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can flex a little bit or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, but everything going good though, man. I'm family good. My son just a little bit ago, he just called because he had to he ended up losing the scholarship last year for football. Because of the coach end up leaving, going to another school, and the other coach came in and rescinded everybody's scholarship and all that stuff. So so he had to go to yesterday. They was doing like this big tryout thing to see who they were gonna possibly pick up or whatever. And so he did that yesterday. They told him it was gonna be a week before they was gonna be able to let anybody know. So they called him this morning and told him that he was in. So he get through the spring, then he can possibly get a scholarship back. So that's good news. So he's ecstatic because he's one step closer to where he wants to be. So
sure,
that's a good thing.
Good.
But so we're gonna jump onto this show now. As everybody know, I mean, you've been watching the news, so it's pretty much a given as to all the different stuff that's been going on here within the past week or two. One of the biggest things that they were talking about was these tariffs and the tariffs that they're putting on Mexico, and they trying to put one on Canada, which has since been rescinded for another 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're going to talk about is the implications as is. Okay, so let's just say, for instance, that these 30 days is up, and they decide, like, you know what, I'm still going to put these tariffs on, even though I may have asked you to do X, Y, Z. I'm still going to put this on.
Sure, so can happen.
Right. So we're going to talk about this part of the show. We're going to talk about what's the implications for that. Is it something that the regular person would be like, it may just be just a little, price may go up just a little bit, but nothing major, or is it something that people really need to pay attention to because it will be a more of a grander scale type situation. So I'm gonna ask you first, Aaron, and then Mike, you can follow up after that. What do you think about it? Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? And if you think then just kind of give me a little reason as to why you think.
Okay. Well, let me define a few things first so that people who don't know will have an idea what's going on. Basically, when you're dealing with foreign countries, your normal progression when you get into wars is you go out with a currency war first. Then whoever's trying to knock your money out of the way. If they don't win, then you escalate it to a trade war, and then a trade war escalates into a real shooting war later. Right now, we're going into the trade war stage with a lot of these countries. There's something called a trade deficit. What a trade deficit is let's say you export maybe to China 100 items, but China gets to export 1,000 items to import into your country 1,000. The difference between imports and exports is the trade deficit. And that's currently what's going on with us in China. China's got full access to our markets. We don't hardly have access to anything. They put quotas on us and restrictions. So with a trade war, what you're doing is you're setting up a situation in which the countries try to damage each other's trade by imposing tariffs or quota restrictions. Now, your weapons in a trade war are tariffs, which is a tax or duty to be paid on a particular class of imports or exports. You got sanctions, which is an official order such as the stopping of trade that is taken against a country in order to make it obey international law. And then you have embargoes, which is an official ban on trade or other commercial activity with a particular country. Now, right now, we're starting off with tariffs. Now, Mexico and Canada both has already got tariffs on us. We're just don't like the deal that we're in because they can import more into our country than we're allowed to import into theirs. There should be a balance. What's coming in should be equal to what's going out, but that's not the case. They are sending way more stuff in here, and they're limiting us with restrictions and quotas on what we can send back. And we're getting ready to counter that. And if they want to get into a major war, I feel it's in our best interest that we do so. In the beginning, it's going to be tough. People are going to have to tighten their belts. There will be, say, product. Let me get my words right here. There will be scarcities. There'll be product scarcities. There's going to be higher prices. But in the end, we're going to win this because we give money to them in economic aid, both of those two countries, which I'll get into later. And they're not going to be able to go item for item with us because, like, Canada sends a lot of oil into our country. But if we decide to put a tariff against them, and then they say, well, we're going to embargo you, we're not going to send you no oil, but we'll just go to Venezuela or someone else that we can outsource it to, and we'll still get the same product. Canada is not going to have that same option. Everybody wants access to our markets because our people spend money. And we've got a major advantage knowing that everybody, including China, wants access to our markets. But I'm going to stop there for right now.
No, Aaron, you're very spot on. The only thing that I guess I will add on to that is that, for instance, when we're looking at tariffs regarding like Canada, like what you were just saying, on that point is, for instance, there 60% of USA based exports for Canada comes to, obviously here. 60%. That's a huge number for, we're all around consumers of everything. And so you're right. They want our market. Absolutely. Now, who can realistically hold out? I mean, let's be honest. We got America. That what do we export to them? That is something that is so, like the truth is we just want our businesses back type thing. Like, listen, man, you take a plant from Detroit and bring it right over the border, and now you're paying way less, and then you're tariffing us on top of the free trade agreement that they agreed to, which is hilarious. And then they tariff us, and we just allowed it, and now we're fighting back, and now it's an issue. So I don't know. I look at this as, I look at tariffs as a good thing when used correctly, not necessarily when they're not. But it definitely makes it a even playing field. You want access to this shit now? I mean, you can't continue to just dick us around.
Okay, now let me ask you this. So, based on what you just said, Mike, So you remember back a while ago they had NAFTA, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then they did away with NAFTA, and then they started the USMCA.
That's right. I remember talking about that.
So they started that back in, I think it was July 1st, 2020. They started that. And that was done under Trump, because he got rid of NAFTA, and then they started this agreement here. So now at that particular time, they were saying that was the better idea, that was the better plan to have.
Sure.
Because it was supposed to be more of a balanced trade, you know what I mean, for jobs and for workers on, you know what I mean,
for everyone all the way around, right?
For all three. Okay, but then now we're talking about putting tariffs on the same countries, the same two countries that you started the USMCA about, saying that this agreement was supposed to be this great idea. So my question to you two is that, okay, the same person who agreed to this agreement, it's the same one that's in charge now.
Sure.
Why is it different? If it was good then, why is it not good now?
Well, because here in 2022, that's when Canada implemented their tariffs on us again. So it was them that did it, you know. So at this point, it's just retaliation. It's just protecting yourself. So I would say simply a timeline.
Okay, and I want to add to that. When they put the tariffs on us, that again created a trade deficit to where they put quotas and restrictions on how much we could send into their countries, both Canada and Mexico. So now you got more coming in, but you're not accepting very much from us. And that made everything get out of balance. So now we got to come back to the table, renegotiate this. And if they don't want to do it, then we get into a war where they will either destroy our economy or we would destroy theirs. And personally, I feel they're going to need us before we need them, because of the amount of money and economic aid that we give to the world. I mean, right now, you got 188 countries in the world, and we give economic aid to 175 of them. And we will include Russia and China in that.
Man, that's crazy.
Ukraine gets 16.2 billion, Ethiopia 2 billion, Jordan 1.2 billion, Afghanistan 1.2 billion, Somalia 1.1 billion, Yemen 1.1 billion, Democratic Republic of Congo 982 million, Syria, which is now a failed state, 894.7 million, South Sudan 891.1 million, which I believe they recently joined joined the BRIC Alliance. Nigeria, 886.2 million. Israel gets 3 billion, which without our money, their economy would fail. Egypt gets 1 billion, and they're nice enough to take that money and go to Russia and buy weapons from Russia. They don't even spend the money with us. Kenya, 633.8 million. Uganda, 509.5 million. Tanzania, 453.9 million. Colombia, 441.3 million. And you guys are selling enough cocaine down there that you should have all the money in the world. Why do we have to finance that economy? Zambia, 396 million. Mexico, we give them $112.6 million. Now, if you want to get into a war with us, we're going to pull the carpet out from under you, and we're going to cut that economic aid. Peru, 119.3 million. Cambodia, 101 million. Turkey, the traitor to NATO, $94.2 million. Why are we financing them when they don't want to act right? Serbia, 38.1 million. Brazil, a member of the BRIC Alliance, 21.7 million. China, a member of the BRIC Alliance, 10.2 million. Canada, 7.3 million a year. Russia, a member of the BRIC Alliance, give them 107 million. $107.3 thousand. So that goes way down. Now, Gaza, we just voted to give them $53 million to buy condoms. What do we do that for? I mean, that's ridiculous. We got money to burn. Our economy is failing. Colombia, we give them $300 million. I mean, a total for 2022 we were paying out $70.3 billion to 175 countries out of 188 countries in the world. Where are we getting all this money from? Oh, I know, it's the American taxpayer. We're burning the candle on both ends on him. We're burning the candle on one side on inflation. We're raising prices on him. And on the opposite side of that candle, we're raising taxes and we're inventing new taxes to charge American taxpayers so we can give all this free money away.
Well, we've been
I
giving
mean, to
away
me,
free
that
money.
doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so what was your total number right there combined?
Okay.
Combine all of that.
What was the
Combined,
total?
and again, I just covered 30 of the 177 nations. That was $70.3 billion that we're
Damn.
giving away yearly. Now, let me add to that. Top countries in NATO, we give away 860 million. Germany is next with 68. United Kingdom's next with 65. France gives 56 million. Italy 31. Poland 29. Canada 28 million. Spain 19 million. The Netherlands 16 million. Again, Turkey, who's enjoying NATO membership, $15 million. They ain't spend no money. And then if you go to the UN, I couldn't even get a figure for 2023 or 2024. We're giving away $18 billion to the UN. I mean, and then if you look at the people we let into the country, they say we let in 18 to 24 million, but I couldn't verify that, but I could verify 9.6 million. And if each one of them is being given a monthly debit card for $5,000, that's $48 billion a month that we're giving away a month. And you're giving them debit cards that's got $5,000 to $9,000 on it. I've been paying into the system my entire life. I only get $3,000 a month. So how does somebody that don't live here get more money than me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now, and I'm gonna put this in terms that people can understand. You've got a credit card. You then ran up a high limit. Now, if you can't pay the payment when it comes in, then you can get by paying the interest payment on the card. A lot of people have done that before.
Mm-hmm.
We have fell over the edge. We are falling, and we're plummeting right now. Our economy is, and people don't even know it. We've fallen so far over the edge that the United States has to borrow money from other countries to come up with the money to make the interest payment. That's how bad it is.
Yes.
And people don't realize we're headed toward a financial collapse. We got to cut the weight. We got to cut the dead weight. Some of this and these programs and other things that don't make sense, it's got to be cut. And all these friends that we're buying, 175 nations, hell, if I told people, if you be my friend, I give you some money, people be lined up around the damn block.
Yes.
So if we stop giving money because we're trying to soften our fall, we're trying to preserve our lifestyle, then what's going to happen then? Are they still going to be friends with us, or are they going to turn on us? And the ones that are going to turn on us, we're going to be in trade wars with them. And so be it. So be it as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to stop there.
Well, you decided to turn it down, huh? You was on a good little roll there. Yeah, he was a good little roll there. Now, you was talking about all the amounts that we was giving out to everybody. Okay. You giving out what, 70, what'd you say, 70.3 billion, and that's just for 30 countries. That's not for the whole 170.
No.
Yeah.
So that's for the whole the whole 175.
Okay.
Okay, so and that's a year. That's a year.
Okay. Well, I brought that up for a reason. Okay, so you giving out 70.3 billion to 175 countries, right? Now,
right.
I was looking at a Senate hearing the other day where they were talking about the migrants that had came into the U.S. and how much they had actually spent. And this was, they went from the end of 23 to the end of 24. So that year, they gave out 66.9 billion. Okay. And they were talking about with as in comparison to vet benefits to U.S. veterans, they only gave out 6.9 million. I mean 6.9 billion. Now, you give out 6.9 billion to all the veterans in the U.S. Okay, mind you, you got another last estimate was 586,000 veterans that was homeless right now. But this is just in benefits. This is just benefits and medical benefits alone. 6.9. Now you give out 66 billion to the migrants, which is what 4 billion less than what you gave 175 countries.
Right. That part.
So I mean, so if we're talking about
math ain't mathin'.
Right. So if we're talking about, being able to cut back spending and whatever, then a couple things. Number one, you're talking about, okay, we give out all this money everywhere else, which is
did we lose AB?
To the ones that we just bought, that we just let come over the border. You know what I mean? So now we're talking about, being able to cut a lot of this spending, and that's what a lot of this stuff is. That's what a lot of this stuff is about. But we've been paying everybody forever. You know what I mean? Hell, you're even paying the terrorist organizations now.
Yes, we are the kings of making deals with anybody. Doesn't matter.
So you fighting the terrorists, but then you paying them too.
Yes.
Like they just did that meeting the other day with Netanyahu and Trump, and they talking about going over and like sending people over to Egypt and let them harbor over there, and then they're gonna go through and just wipe the slate clean on everything over there. Okay, but you've been paying them. You've been paying them all. You've been paying them millions weekly.
Weekly, yes.
So you go over there, which is kind of weird to me. Like you go over there and you had a whole war over there, and then you turn around and you pay them anywhere between 40 to 80 million a week to give to the families of the people that you killed.
Yes. We shook hands with the devil.
So you steady throwing money. You know what I mean? So it's not like, okay, well, we gotta, crack down on this. But why come nobody's talking about cracking down on that spending, but you cracking down on regular household spending? Are you cutting programs and everything else, dealing with your own people, but you steady handing out money to everybody else? That's what I'm talking about. The math ain't mathing. You know what I mean? Because you would think that if you was really trying to do what's right, you take care of home first.
Yes.
And fuck the rest of them.
Yes.
That's
exactly the time I'm on right there.
I mean, that's what you would think.
You would think.
Let me take care of everybody here first, and then once I get them taken care of, what I got left, then
we can consider it. Right.
Okay, so I'm sending all this aid to all these other countries. Okay, but I got 586,000 veterans just walking the street, is homeless, sleeping in fucking tents, under bridges,
yes,
in shelters, and everywhere else. Okay, so why is it that I'm gonna do an airdrop to make sure these people got food, water, all this other shit, and I got my people over here who signed that paper to serve and protect this damn country that's sitting here scrapping around trying to live? That makes no sense. You paying basically like a death benefit to the Taliban.
Yes.
But what are you giving your soldiers that was over the Taliban, the ones that got the mental health problems,
that's shit
out here in the street? You're giving them shit.
Nope.
Or you giving them very little. You know what I mean? This don't make sense.
Yeah, it takes them, 2 months to get an appointment. at the VA and stuff, and illegal migrants can, get same day service. It's fantastic for them.
Right. Now, when they was breaking down that 66 billion that they were giving out, it was like a little over 10 billion that they were giving out. This was just for medical treatment. So you're giving out 10 billion for medical treatment for the migrant, but you only give 6.9 billion for your veterans, period. That's everything. That's what your,
That's embarrassing.
disability, medical, everything. 6.9. But you did over 10 billion just for medical alone, not counting housing vouchers, not counting the extra funds that you was giving them, food stamps, and like you gave them the little ATM card where they had $3,000-$4,000 a month on it that they collecting off that bitch and everything else. So if you're talking about that, you're trying to, you keep hearing this make America great again bullshit and all that. Okay, you really want to make this shit really want to make it better? Tell you what you do. Stop the bullshit. Stop the bullshit. Stop making everything a DEI fucking problem. Stop making everything a fucking race problem. Deal with shit brass tacks. Take care of your fucking people. Don't matter whether they black, white, blue. Don't matter. Take care of your people first. Deal with everybody else later. Because they're going to take care of their people whether you do or not.
Of course.
They're going to find a way to do it. I mean, think about it. 75% of all Canada's exports come to the U.S. 80% from Mexico come to the U.S. Okay? They're going to make a deal. It ain't no question about it because that's where all their shit going.
Exactly.
You know
exactly
what I mean?
the point.
Right. So, of course, you got the upper hand on that. You know what I mean? Okay. Now, just from Canada, you got 60 to 70% of petroleum that comes from Canada, 30 to 40% of lumber, 15 to 20% automobile parts, 5 to 7% pharmaceuticals. Then you have like the raw material like nickel, uranium, potash, which you can't get in the U.S. You got to get it from Canada. And then you have 15 to 20% for agricultural products. Now, a lot of this stuff here, you can actually do in this country instead of outsourcing it the way you've been doing it. But the reason why they was outsourcing it so much was why? You was taxing the shit out of them here, and they could go somewhere else and do it dirt cheap.
Way too much red tape on top of it too.
Right. So you getting automobile parts from Canada, when you can easily open up the factories back in Dayton, Ohio, Detroit, these factories that closed down, that all those people were out of work.
Where they originated.
Right. You know that be a fact, Aaron, because you right there in Dayton. You remember back when GM closed, what happened? Everything went downhill. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Everything went to shit. People started moving out of Dayton. You know what I mean? And everything else started dropping. Okay.
Because that was our main industry, right?
Right. Because they outsourced the jobs. They sent it up to Canada and they sent it down to Mexico where they can do it cheap. Okay. So now we talking about, we can put a tariff on it. Why would you put a tariff on some shit when you could just tell GM, like, bring that shit back over here? Bring it back.
I think that is the way to tell them.
You know what I mean? Open it back up. You know what I mean? If you're gonna put tariffs on everybody, then you need to bring all these companies back in the US. Bring them all back. Let everybody set up shop here. You know what I mean? To the point that you don't need to outsource shit. You know what I mean? So whatever you want to do, I don't give a shit because I already got it here. You know what I mean? Everything that you got over there, I got over here, and I can do it, and I can do it on my own. You know what I mean? That's what would cut a lot of this bullshit.
Well, yeah, I look at it the same way that you do in that aspect. Of course, bringing it back here, but there's so many issues with that because companies they look at the world like globalists. I mean, their market is not just exclusive to the United States, and they know that, and because of that, then that's why they feel like they can go other places and set up shop and be a lot less, price overhead, whatever. They can cut a whole bunch of corners by doing that shit, and a lot of red tape and probably a lot of laws and everything that happen here. But I look at it as like that is the way to tell them, because they're not gonna. You can't tell these guys to do shit. They're not gonna do nothing. They're not even willing to even sit down with you. You know, these are globalists. You know, and so us doing a tariff on that is a direct way of us saying, "Yo, bring that shit back over here." You know, that is, I think, the overall message. And real quick, Callie Kills coming in with $10, by the way. Very much appreciate you with the contribution. Keep up the great work and exposing the truth. Yeah, these gentlemen do a badass job right here, these two. So I appreciate that, Callie.
You know, sometimes,
And I'd like, go ahead,
you may
Bishop.
want to, you know, like what you just said when you was talking about that you're dealing with a lot of globalists, which I agree. You know, and you know, you got globalists, you got nationalists.
Yep.
You know, right now, I think as a whole, we should be more nationalists and deal with what's going on in this damn country. You know what I mean? And it's more that's going on than what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like we're sitting here dealing with all this extra shit. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's a lot of extra shit. But why are they not talking about the fact that just here in Florida, where DeSantis went up, and I got videos where they cleared out all the school books in the libraries.
Yeah, I heard about that.
All the books, not just some, all of them. You know what I mean? So what are you teaching these kids? But you steady giving out school tax. So you're taking out school taxes on everybody. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? So you're going to kill the education on this end. You ain't teaching these kids shit. And then you wonder why these kids get 18, 19, 20 years old and they ain't doing shit. They're not productive. They're not going to be productive. Why? Because the schools ain't teaching them shit. And why is the schools not teaching them shit? Because you're going through and you're putting so much, you're taking away so much stuff that you kind of tying their hands when it comes to actually teaching. You know what I mean? And then you got, on top of that, you don't have the right amount of teachers there. And then you bring in teachers in that's not even qualified to even teach. You know what I mean? Like here in the state of Florida, if you were a veteran, you can be a teacher and you don't have to go to school to do it. You know what I mean? So imagine me sitting in the damn classroom trying to teach some kids all day. You know what I mean? Yeah, they'll probably learn something, but that ain't no shit I want to do. You know what I mean? But this is the rate that's going on. You got what? Little over 65% of the nation between the ages of 18 and 26 that can't read above a 7th grade level.
Right.
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
You know
but the government loves that position.
Right. Because
they love it.
They're not going to ask questions. I mean, but this is the problem. I mean, now everybody's getting older. I'm getting older. You getting older. The ones watching, you're getting older. So if they're not teaching this next generation what they need to be taught, what happens? Everything goes to shit.
Yeah,
you know
education's very important.
Right. So a lot of this, you know, maybe take some of this money that we willingly and freely given out to people into other countries and invest it in these kids. Because these kids eventually are going to be the ones that's going to be running shit. You know what I mean? Like, I really hope that sometime in the future that our next president or whoever ain't older than fucking Ben Franklin. You know what I mean? It seems
no
like
kidding.
You know what I mean? I mean, the only people that we can get to put in the White House is older than fucking dust.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It would be nice to get somebody younger in there with some fresher ideas or whatever. But you gotta, like you said, when you talking about draining the swamp, hell, you gotta get all the old folks out of Congress. Hell, some of them been in there for 80 damn years. Ain't planning on going nowhere. You know what I mean? So
you're right.
I mean, so if you're talking about changing some stuff, change it from there and then work your way down. But in the meantime, though, you know what I mean, you gotta invest in these kids. You can't just take them programs away. You know what I mean? They're already suffering enough. You know what I mean? They're already under educated than just about every other country. What do we rank? 47?
Mm-hmm. Bottom of the list.
We rank 47. You know what I mean? So there's 46 other countries that's running around that their kids is way smarter than these kids here. You know what I mean? But we worried about other shit.
Mm-hmm. All day long.
We worried about other shit. We worried about who gonna get a job before I do.
Yeah.
We worried about the wrong shit.
That's no joke.
Let me jump in here for a second. Oh, before you guys get too far in here.
No,
Okay.
go ahead. I was getting ready to tell you go ahead, but I had to take a breath. Go ahead.
Yeah, homie was cooking over here, you know.
Yeah, you guys are right. When the United States, and we was one of the main manufacturers, we led the world in manufacturing. When we went to the globalists, which the UN was pushing that, they want to go to the one world government type system.
Yep.
And what you do under globalism, you divvy up the jobs and say someone like China, where people were living kind of primitive, you take their level of living, you bring manufacturing and stuff to them, and you raise their level of living because you're increasing their income. And they weren't used to making that kind of money that they're making right now. But in the United States, you're taking it down. You're putting it on a wage scale, and you're trying to level off where everybody's going to be on the same level. That's not going to work. We learned during COVID that just in time manufacturing did not work. It broke the supply chain. And when China and different people wasn't shipping to us, we couldn't get anything over here. We had supply shortages. They started rationing stuff at the stores. That doesn't work. Trump is a nationalist. He's not a globalist. We got to go back onto it. If these countries want to price war with us because of it, I'm for it. Now, your pros of why you do a price war is it protects domestic companies from unfair competition. If you raise the cost of Chinese steel to be equal to the steel coming out of Arlington Steel, then Arlington Steel is just a better quality, hands down. I mean, you match our coal against Chinese coal. Theirs is high in sulfur, real smoky. Ours burns clean. If it's on the same level playing field, our products will win. But because people were willing to take that little bit of a discount, it shut our companies down. By getting into a price war and destroying our competition, it's going to protect domestic companies from unfair competition. It will increase demand for domestic goods because now our stuff starts looking better for a change. It promotes local job growth because if the local companies are making money, now they can hire American workers to work into things again. And then it's going to improve the trade deficits. Instead of us being able to export very little to these countries and they're just totally want full access to our markets, we can get a level playing field on that. Now, I can't discuss the pros without discussing the cons. By doing this, there's going to be increased costs, and that increased costs on products coming in here could induce more inflation. I mean, you look at Walmart. When Sam Walton created Walmart, it was American products only. When he died, chairman of the board and them voted. Now it's all Chinese products in at Walmart. The dollar stores will be greatly affected. The dollar stores won't be dollar stores no more because they're going to have to go up on their prices when the increased costs happen. Again, you can cause marketplace shortages, which is going to reduce choices for the public if less products are coming in here. And it's going to directly affect me because a lot of my stuff comes from China. I'm going to have a hard time getting products to sell unless they start manufacturing them again over here in the United States. I mean, Case Knives was always made in the United States. Smith & Wesson was always made in the United States. I can go on and on. They're all made in China now.
Are they? I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, I was so disappointed when Case Knives went to China. But
I didn't know that.
It's going to
be crazy.
Yeah. When that price war starts, it's going to reduce the choices that the consumer is going to have. It's going to discourage trade. It's going to slow economic growth for everybody that's fighting in the war. And it will hurt diplomatic relations between the two countries that are fighting. That's the reason why a lot of trade wars end up in real wars. I mean, you look at when China got into a trade war with Great Britain back in the day, and Great Britain bought a bunch of opium from India, and they knew how to manufacture it, and they got most of the Chinese people and turned them into slave labor, shipping that opium in there to those Chinese workers. And when China said, no, we ain't doing this no more, and they tried to do a price war, it went to gunboat diplomacy. That's usually why Britain had their Navy, and those naval gunships went in there and shot them up. And at that point, China was open to free trade. In fact, they was even willing to let more products come over there. You look at anywhere where there's been price wars, over half of them ended up in real shooting wars. I mean, look at when we got into a war with Russia back, what was it? Reagan was in office. Berlin Wall came down. We collapsed the Russian economy. People were fighting over boxes of government cheese over there. But over here, in collapsing them, we almost collapsed ourselves. We ended up in a deep recession. I was out of work for at least 2 years, minimum. My ex-wife was out of work for 3. It reduced and it slowed the economic growth, and there was just high layoffs. Now, we came out on top, but we almost collapsed our own economy trying to take them down. I mean, Bishop knows what they did to Hugo Chavez. I mean, we destroyed the Venezuelan economy in a price war.
Mm-hmm.
But
he was doing the same thing. Chavez was basically doing the same thing that Muammar Gaddafi was doing. They was trying to, like, he took.
That was like before I was even born, huh?
Yeah, like he knew how much oil he had. He knew that he could leverage it. Hugo Chavez owned Citgo, the gas station Citgo. He owned that. So they were making their money, they were funneling their money and putting it under oil, just like the US was doing with the petrodollar. They were doing the same thing. But he was more adamant about it, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Fuck y'all. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it. Which in turn led to his death. Same thing with Muammar Gaddafi. He was, you know, when he was in Libya, he was, you know, they made him out to be like he was this tyrant, and that he was, you know, going against his people and the whole deal. A lot of things, though, you found out after the fact that in Libya during that time, every citizen had a house. They either had a house or an apartment. Medicine was free. Your education was free. If you wanted to go to college, it was paid for. If you wanted to go to another country for further education, the government paid for it.
And this is where?
This was in Libya.
But
back
shit,
when Gaddafi was in.
But shit, it's Libya.
Yeah, but what he was doing,
I know, but that's crazy.
That he took his money and he backed it under gold.
Sure.
That's what he was trying to do, which in turn went against the status quo. You know what I mean? So a lot of these ex-leaders that are now no longer with us are no longer with us because they went against the status quo.
Right.
Right. Because they were doing what they wanted to do for their country. I mean, like when you go to Dubai, there's no homeless people in Dubai.
But now we're talking on global scale, exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
You know, exactly.
Right. So see, but that also shows you how these countries decided, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to take care of our people.
Yes.
Okay. So like Dubai, for instance, like I just said, no one is homeless in Dubai. Everybody has everybody has a house, and everybody gets a stipend per month. If you don't have a job, everybody gets a stipend to be able to live. That doesn't happen. Okay. So if they can do it, this is supposed to be the most richest economic country in the world. Why is it not done here? You know what I mean? Everybody, you know what I mean? If you counted the number of people that's either homeless or in prison, because that is the one thing that we stand number one in, is locking somebody's ass up. But if you took them two We probably got more than everybody else in the country. I mean, in the fucking world, between homeless and people in prison. But it's the other way around in a lot of these other countries. You know what I mean? But like I said, if you don't go through and actually look it up, you never know.
And then let me add something. Let me add something here, Bishop. Okay. Now, me and you talked, and I told you how outside of Wright Pat Air Force Base, they're getting ready to put in a factory to build drones. So we won't be counting on China to do it no more. Then outside of Columbus, they're building a plant, which you told me you saw it yourself, where they're going to be making computer chips. So we won't be counting on China and Taiwan no more. And then I saw a story that broke yesterday, and it basically is this: U.S. firm unveils plan for 100,000 strong robot army to counter China. So since China's getting into actually soldier type robots, we're playing catch up right now. And because we're building these drone facilities and we're building these computer chips, we don't want to buy chips from China that might have cutoff switches in them. If China sends out a signal, it cuts something off. So everything that they're starting to build over here now, we never should have stopped building. But now we got to play catch up. And if China wants to get into a price war with us, which they are getting ready to hit us with a 15% tariff on some things, I would put a sanction against them, deny them access to our market. I wouldn't give China favored nation trade status. You want to mess with us, we'll show you who we are.
Yeah,
now, our people
we're
have
their
to
biggest
suffer.
consumers.
Yeah,
they love our market,
well, our
just
people,
like you said.
Yeah, well, our people have to suffer. Well, they have to tighten their belts. Yes, in any growing, there's going to be growing pains. But in the end, when we come out on top, industry and things will come back here because they want to have access to our market without anybody putting any duties, tariffs, sanctions, or anything of that nature on their products. They're going to have to manufacture it here. They're going to have to bring jobs back here, good paying jobs. And I'm all for it. I mean, things is going to get tight. I don't want anybody to think this is going to go without no pain. We're going to feel the pain this year, but it's a necessary evil to get these daggone ticks and fleas off of us so we can cut some weight. So when we hit the bottom of this economic thing, we can land on our feet and not come crashing down and having to call it Great Depression Part 2. But I'll stop there.
Shit.
You know, I was looking at the chat here, and Anson had put something up here. He was talking about the coal is expensive because it's attached to entitled American wage requirements. True, very true. Now, the downside to that is that I'll give you an example. State of West Virginia, where I'm from, just about 85-90% of every family that was in the state of West Virginia, somebody in that family worked for the coal companies.
Mine does too.
My grandfather was a foreman at a coal company. That is not an easy job.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
But that's what everybody lived by, because coal was where it was at. Okay, and everybody, during that time, it was like when you graduated high school, you either went to college, the military, or the coal mines.
Wow, it was that. See, I grew up on the West Coast, so like everything was gold over there. Over on the West Coast or the East Coast, it seemed more like coal and stuff.
Yeah, so that's what kept West Virginia going. That was their main economy. Was coal. Well, then they went from that to they started shutting down the coal mines, and they started doing this mountaintop removal, and then they started doing the fracking, which cut down on all the coal mines. So the coal mines shut down, so they wasn't digging down like they were. Now they just trying to we can just take it off the top of the mountain instead of digging digging down. We just take it off top. Well, when they shut those coal mines down, those coal mining towns went obsolete. Those people lost everything. You know what I mean? You go to West Virginia now, it's like a ghost town. You know what I mean? The people that's still there are just, just happen to be, people that, they ended up branched off and doing some other stuff. But a lot of people just completely left the state.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the coal mines is what fueled that state. Now, they kept going back and forth. Every time it was a new presidential election, whatever, they go to West Virginia. The first thing they say is, we're going to bring the coal mines back. We're going to open up these coal mines. But they didn't.
Mm.
You know what I mean? There's still, believe it or not, there's still towns in West Virginia that houses don't have running water in the house.
I believe it fully.
To this day.
Yep.
Now, did the coal mines cause a lot of natural problems? Yes, it did, pollute the water. It did do that. And it wasn't more or less from the coal itself. It was how they were bringing it up. You know what I mean? Then you had methane leaks and methane explosions and cave-ins and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So like I said, when you talk about the good stuff, because
huge
this was
dangers though. Yeah.
Right. Like you got the good stuff over here. Like, yeah, they were practically one of the highest paying jobs that you could get at that time. So everybody was going for it, but it was also a dangerous job because it wasn't no guarantee that you was going to live. And if you did live, then you had to suffer with the respiratory problems because they didn't have proper respiration during that time. And then you end up with black lung and everything else. And then you end up basically suffocating yourself to death. You know what I mean? So it was good and bad there on both ends. Now, the ones who benefited the most were the companies that own these coal mines. Of course, they got billions and billions, and then they shut down and went on about their business. And everybody else that was working there was basically shit out of luck, lost everything. These towns that was once, 10, 15, 20,000 in a town, because they just ran, these towns ran from it may be like 2 street lights in the damn town, but it ran from one town to the next town to the next town. But they were all coal mining towns because you had one major coal mine that was in that area. Decimated.
I got a question. How many employees would usually work in one mine?
Oh, you had hundreds.
Okay.
Yeah, you had hundreds because they like I said, like they worked different shifts, and then they may have had, like, this one company may had 6 or 7 different mines. You know what I mean? So they were, so they were branched out, working different ones. I mean,
Sure.
But like this, coal mining was so natural to everyone in that state that when we was in school, we used to take field trips to the coal mines.
Wow.
And they put us in the coal car, and we laying in the coal car going through the tunnels and all that shit because, cause they knew that, give or take, every kid that when they graduated, they're gonna go to one of them 3. They're either gonna hit the coal mine, they're going to the military, or they're gonna go to college. And most people went to the coal mines because they were really high paying jobs during that time. And it was like, okay, why do I need to go to school when I can go over here and work in the mines and I can support my family great working in the mines? You know what I mean? A lot of people would turn down other jobs just to work in the mines simply because of the money that it was generating. You know what I mean? But once that money disappeared, it was gone. You know what I mean? Now you bring in coal from China, which is, like Aaron said, full of sulfur, doesn't burn like regular coal here. You know what I mean? But you send it over here, you still burn it. But look at how many jobs, and look at the fact that you basically decimated a whole state because they never rebounded from that. So
it actually got way worse. I mean, it just continued to sink.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you go down, like if you hit like the major cities, like, you hit Charleston, Morgantown, stuff like that, it ain't bad. You go down into the state of West Virginia, Southwest Virginia, Southeast West Virginia, Southwest West Virginia, where these coal mines Well, that's all that was with coal mining towns.
Sure.
There's nothing there. You know what I mean?
Decimated.
It's decimated.
It's sad how many people, like the families that had to go through that, you know, going completely broke, losing everything that you have. Like, man, that's got to be it's got to suck, man. It's terrible. I can't
so that's what
imagine.
I'm saying. So like, instead of, you know, while we sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, giving out money to everybody and trying to take
Totally.
care of everybody else's economy, take care of what we got right here first.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Stop being fucking greedy. Take care of what you take care of. Don't just try to just be going around just hoping some shit happen. You can buy the fucking property up and everything. And you know what I mean? And then they still messed up. I mean, actually put some money in there and let them, you know, rebuild. Like, okay, well, we may not be able to open up all these mines, but we're going to open up some. Look, let's kind of get this generating back. Being the fact that you got the same natural resources here in the U.S. that you have everywhere else. You have the same shit. But that's all they're looking for right now anyway. That's the reason why they want Greenland, natural resources. Same reason why they made a deal with Ukraine. They want their natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what a lot of this shit's about. That's what a lot of this land that they talking about they want to clear everybody out. When, you know what I mean? A lot of that shit doesn't have anything to do with the people that's above the ground.
Correct.
They want the shit that's underneath.
Totally. 100%. Man, that was you cooking right there, dude.
What you got, Aaron? You got something on that?
Oh, I'm agreeing with what you're saying because
I can't
you know
follow
my
that.
family on my dad's side, they were all coal miners. A lot of my uncles, some of my cousins, they all died from black lung. They told me they'd work all day, half bent over, and then when they come up, it was hard for them to straighten their backs out. And when the person used the term, God, I can't think it started with an I, about their wages. Everyone that I knew that was into the coal mining industry, they were making working class to almost middle class wages. There was nobody I know that was getting rich from it. The most expensive person working in the coal mine that made the highest amount of money was the blasters, because they had to go in there and plant the explosives and detonate them. And that could be dangerous if they had a premature detonation. And then you got all that coal dust that people were breathing. And a lot of the coal mines in Kentucky were what I call bootleg companies. They didn't supply respirators or nothing. You went in there at your own risk daily. They paid you enough money. And then in the end, you'd end up, if you was able to save anything, it all went on medical bills for black lung cancer that you would develop later in life. Mm-hmm. So, and to me, a man has the right to earn a living wage to support his family. I mean, you got ball players making millions of dollars. Are they entitled, or are they that good that they're willing to pay them those fees for them to perform and act out on the weekends to entertain people? I mean, you could argue that back and forth, but to say that coal miners were entitled, I don't see how it is. That's a super dangerous job, and you couldn't pay me to go down there and do that job right now. And China was bidding prison labor, 50 cents a day, sending them down in the mines.
Hell yeah.
I mean, how could our companies compete with that? But if you put a tariff on them, or you put a quota on them where they can only bring so much in here, that preserves and it protects the American-made companies where they can still make a living wage, and the workers could support their families. I mean, that's what this country is about. That's the great dream, is being able to come over here and prosper. I would hate to think that we would come over here and get paid so little that you go into poverty. I wouldn't want to think that.
I have a question on this. With your guys' mines in your guys' area, I have no idea. When was the last time they were in operation vaguely? Like, if you remember. Or
are you talking about the coal mines?
Yeah, the coal mines. When the last time they were like in operating mode?
Well, some of the ones down in Kentucky, I want to say they revolutionized. They updated. Got rid of workers and brought in robotics. They brought in machines that could mine. And if you saw it coming, like I had one cousin that saw it coming, he went back to school for robotics. So as soon as the coal mine changed over to the new stuff, he was in the right position at the right time with the right skill set that he fell right into a job, where others who didn't seek to further educate themselves, they was in the unemployment line or was out there making moonshine, trying to make money off the
Right.
system because they couldn't eat
Totally.
from the system,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, like a lot of that started dropping in 2008.
Okay.
So from 2008 to 2015, they basically lost a little over 60%
Damn.
of the production.
Wow. That's a lot. I mean, that's a humongous amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can think, okay, so think about it in that aspect. You lost 60%. So out of them 60%, how many actual workers, did you lose? You know what
Man,
I mean?
I would look at 60 to 70% at minimum.
Right. I mean, you lost thousands of workers.
Your biggest overhead in any business is wages. So
Yeah, because
none,
that was your major thing. I mean, like I said, when you live down in Southwest West Virginia, there's nothing there. I mean, you got mountains. Okay. So you had mountains and you had mines. That's what you had. So the nearest big city from down there was like Charleston, West Virginia, which was probably about a good 3 hours away. 3.5 hours away driving. Now, but you had that whole bottom half there it wasn't nothing but mining country. That's all it
Sure.
was. You know what I mean? So everybody who bought houses and all that, and everybody, everybody worked in the mines, they really did at that particular time have a good life. You know what I mean? Because they made the mines actually paid really good.
Sure.
So that's where everybody wanted to go there and work.
Mhm.
Granted, it was a dirty job, it was a dangerous job. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
But people,
I mean, that's why I got
took that
paid a
risk.
lot. Was my job prior to my leg ordeal was a very extremely dangerous job, so we got paid a lot.
Mhm.
That was just the way it was. If the higher the risk, higher the reward.
Right, and a lot of them didn't have no problem doing that because
Yep.
that's what took care of their families from generation to generation.
Totally.
So to a lot of people, that's all you knew. That's where what I mean, you grew up dealing with the mines. You know what I mean? So when that went down, it's like, okay, now what? Because there's really nothing else here, really.
Right.
What's here?
And then let me add one thing here, Bishop. And I'm gonna go to the auto industry on this, just to show how we were propagated or lied to. General Motors, which we called it back in the day Generous Motors, because they paid a good wage, and we had the union to protect us. I put in 30 years with the company. I love my experience working there. I wouldn't change a thing right now. But when my job left, and some of our jobs went to Mexico, the rest of them went to China, we were told that because they could put the cars together cheaper there, that they could build them cheaper and sell them back to the Americans at a cheaper price. Can anyone, even in the podcasts or in the chat, remember that when the jobs left, did those cars come out cheaper or did they actually go up in price?
Right.
The corporations made money because greed is a motivating factor. They saw a way to increase their profit margin, which I fully understand. You're in business to make money. So I fully understand it. But that was a big lie that you told when you said that cars were going to be cheaper because the labor is going to be cheaper and the American worker was charging too much in wages. Cars have never went down, and even today they're still going up. And I'll stop there.
Okay, so what do you think would happen if they actually applied these tariffs, being the fact that these auto industries has outsourced this stuff, the parts and whatnot. So now all that stuff's going to be higher. You know what I mean? So
Well, Let me say this. GM was getting ready to build some more plants. It was either GM or Ford was getting ready to build some more plants down in Mexico. Because the threat of the tariffs, they have stopped production on the plants, and they're considering bringing them back to the United States. And that's what we want. We want the plants to be here. We want the jobs to be local. That's the whole thing. We want to give our people a chance to earn a decent wage and get out from under this crushing debt that they're under. We do not want to encourage companies to go over other countries. Like with NAFTA, they would get benefits and tax breaks and stuff if they took our jobs and went somewhere else. I was never for that. Bring the jobs back here, put the American workers back to work. In the beginning, is things going to be more expensive? Yes, because we're going to be in a price war. And the loser is going to go into a depression, or they're going to lose the value of their money. The winner is going to come out on top and be a leader in the world. And I think we could be that once again, once we encourage these corporations to bring jobs back here and start employing the people who are buying their products. And I'll stop there.
Pretty soon, these damn cars are going to be just as high as buying a damn house.
No kidding.
Oh, they already are.
No kidding.
I saw a pickup $97,000 for a damn pickup truck. I was like, boy, I better be able to live in that thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got a couple of buddies that got $150,000 trucks and up. Yeah, it's insane. And I'm like, dude, like especially around here where I live, you could buy a house with that shit. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, this shit's crazy.
Yes, man. That's like I said, when you think about this, you know, like I said, on a power structure type deal, yes. I mean, did you make it through this? Of course you could. You know what I mean? But it would be tight all the way around. You know what I mean? There's going to be some form of economic struggle, which is, quite frankly, you're going through economic struggle now without tariffs. You're already going through economic struggle. You know what I mean? So the thing is, what is it that you're going to do to make it better? You know what I mean? Now, if you already struggling now, adding more ain't gonna make it no better. You know what I mean? So you sitting here taxing these other countries or whatever. He's like, okay, we tax them. Okay, yeah, you are taxing them, but then the people who's buying the shit here, they're gonna turn around and tax us to pay the tariff that they already paying for. You know what I mean? So
it boils down to
right. It
consumers.
still goes back to you.
Yes,
right. It still goes back to you.
Totally. That is true. That is totally true.
But you see, the consumer will now have a choice. Do I buy American or do I buy Chinese, which is a better quality? What's going to last the longest? And that's where, on an even footing, our stuff is going to stand out to be superior. And that's where I feel that we can bring jobs back here. Is there going to be pain in the beginning? Sure. Yes, it's going to fall on the consumers. There's no doubt. But when you make it clear to these companies that these trade deficits, where you can ship 1,000 items into my country and I can only ship 100 to yours, we're not going to tolerate that no more. If you can ship 1,000 to me, I should be able to ship 1,000 of my products in your country. I should be able to make money off of your market as you can make money off of my market. Totally. And that's what they're not doing. They're being unfair with it. And we've gotten a bad deal from all these countries, and we're financing them money-wise on top of that. Even makes it worse. So I don't know. It's going to be tough.
You know, you get a bad deal on shit because you allowed it. You know what I mean? So, okay, so think about it like this. You paying these other countries money, why? They didn't extort you. This was part of your deal. You made these deals. You know what I mean? Now, it's crazy how we dealing with this, like okay, you know, these people that's in office, they're in office because you voted them into office. So technically they work for you,
Correct.
But while they're there, they doing everything possible to take your rights away.
Because a lot of people don't G-check their politicians.
Right. You know what I
They
mean?
just allowed it unchecked.
I mean, how many of them know your local politicians as it is? How many people know who their mayors is or who their city council is?
It's
Or
very
who,
rare.
or your 3 senators is in your state, or who's
Totally.
in your, or who represents you in the House.
Yep.
I mean, these are the people that you're dealing with because these are the people that's making the laws. These are the ones that's making these bills, that's adding everything else extra to it. Try to, because everybody got their little hand into something. You know what I mean? None of this stuff has ever been made out to where it was strictly benefiting the people. It was always made to where, okay, we're going to give you this little bit here, but I'm going to get this and he's going to get this. And we're not going to vote for this unless you give me this. And you add all that pork to the back of that damn bill. And then you wonder where all this money going to. But when they talk about it, they be like, oh, well, this bill was a $70 billion deal. But the actual grassroots part of the bill that they want to talk about, that everybody knew about, was probably only about $3-4 billion out of that. Rest of that shit went to other people, other industries, and in turn went into a lot of them's pocket. That's the stuff you need to stop. So we vote these people in, and then they spend their time trying to go through all the little rigmarole to keep you, take all your rights away to where you can't do shit, but you the one who voted them in.
Yep. And this is exactly what I say on my show. I go, listen, for everyone that was fired up for the election, for everybody, if you guys were all fired up, keep that same fucking energy with your local government. You know what I mean? Like, if you care that much and you really are about politics and you've got all these opinions and all this stuff, dude, exercise that shit. You know what I mean? Like, if you look up the people that represent you in your state, for instance, the House, you can look up that person and you can look up their office number, their email. You can get in direct contact, but it's up to you to decide if you're going to do anything about it. A lot of people go, well, it doesn't mean shit, blah, blah, blah. I can't do nothing. I can't change shit. No, yeah, you can. It's just a matter of how much initiative you got.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's not a situation where you can't.
Right.
A lot of them just don't want to do it.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
But it's the same ones that don't want to do it. It's the same ones that do all the fucking complaining.
Yes. And that's the worst part. It's like, I love when someone gets into like a debate, whatever. And I go, you know what? Question. Did you even vote? No. Well, shut the fuck up then. I don't want to, you're irrelevant now. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't even vote. Like, why are you debating me about the subject when you didn't even vote? Like, that's crazy to me.
Right. So at that point, you actually took it like, okay, I'm just going to go for whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, that's my thinking of it. If you didn't go vote, that was basically my thinking. You just say it, well, I'll just take it how I fall, whatever it goes.
Well, I mean, as long as you're not someone that's sitting there complaining all day about
that's
the
what
situation.
I'm saying. So if you do that and you don't go, you say, okay, I'm just going to take it how it falls, then don't say nothing, period. Nothing.
Right.
Whether you feel like saying it or not, just don't say shit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say nothing. You know what I mean? But like I said, you got to realize is that this local government, this state government that you're dealing with is these state officials is who makes the bills. You know what I mean? Now, Trump can make orders. Trump can make executive orders just like Biden did, just like Obama did or whatever. But when them bills come from Congress,
right,
that comes from your state leaders.
Yep.
And once it's voted on and it passes both of them, the only thing he's going to do is just sign it. That's his job at that point. I'm just going to sign it.
Yep.
Because if I don't sign it and I veto it, then you're going to filibuster. You're going to find a way to go around it anyway. You know what I mean? So these are the people that we should be paying attention to. The ones that's actually in your state. You know what I mean? And it's real simple how to deal with them. You organize your vote. And if they don't do what you ask them to do, then when the next term come up, guess what? Your ass going home. And you can sit here in the chair with me. And we'll drink a beer together. But your ass ain't going to be in Washington. You know what I mean? That's where it starts. So if we expect this stuff to change, like I said, you got one or two people sitting here saying we need to do X, Y, Z. This is a full overhaul that needs to happen.
Yeah, no kidding.
But you need to concentrate on home first, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like cut the frivolous crap. Like cut that shit. Deal with what's important. Handle that. And then let the other stuff fall as they may. But deal with what's important first. I mean, you can't have checks and balances if you don't check yourself first. So we're going to end this for today.
Man, that was a great topic.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good one. But like I said, I appreciate everybody that come out and support the show, watch the show. Hit the like button on your way out. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Pass it on to your people. Somebody. At least send it to one person. Send it to one person. Do me that solid. Also, we got the website, www.thedominantfedpodcast.com. You can go on there. We got a lot of good stuff on there. If you go on as a subscriber, you get a lot more extra stuff that you would normally see on there. You can also watch this show on that website. As soon as it's over with, it automatically goes over there too. So you will be able to catch everything. And then we're going to start putting in the little extras that we can't talk about on YouTube, but we can make them and we can put them on there to where you can catch them. But
Right.
It's a lot of good stuff on there. People have been going on, and I ask you to continue to please. This is a big help for the show. That's what keeps the bills paid. For us to be able to come out here every week to put out this information to you guys. So go on there, www.dominantfedpodcast.com. Type in the Diamond Effect, you get 10% off. You type in military, you get 10% off. If you go in as a subscriber, you get 15% off. Plus, you get a lot of free items that come along with that too. So go on there and check it out. Like I said, real good show. I appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you, Aaron, for being out here with us today. And next week we're gonna have another show. And until then, I'll see you next week.
It'll be just as crazy.
Okay. Right now, like I said, normal progression, currency war, then trade war, then real war. I expect us to eventually get into it with either China or Iran somewhere down the road. I think it's inevitable. But one thing right now, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, one thing that doesn't take a vacation is responsibility. You know we're going into a trade war. You know we're going to go into a tight money policy government-wise. They're going to be cutting the fat. They're going to be trimming down and cutting budgets. Start holding on to your money. Start banking your money. Have some sort of an emergency reserve that you set up and hold on to it, because it's what it's going to take to get you through these higher prices. It's going to be higher food prices, higher prices across the board when this price war gets going. This is something that's very serious. Even interest rates will probably start to climb again, and inflation will definitely go up. So position yourself ahead of time. Get out in front of it. Start pooling your money. Know the difference between your wants and your needs, and focus on those needs. And you can make up for your wants further down the road. But put some money back and be prepared for what's coming. Because everybody's going to have to tighten their belt, and it's going to get pretty tight for a while. And I'll stop there.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I always appreciate you, you two, for what you guys do. You guys put a lot of work into every single show, man. I mean, notes and pages. It's insane that you guys do an immense amount of research on the topic. So I really appreciate that. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, everyone on my side, we're going to be raiding our buddy Grid One Motorsports. Stick around for the raid. And until, 7 days from now, we'll see you guys in 7 days. Much love, honor, and respect to everybody.
Are you ready?